Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Fromson here with a short Dvar Torah for Shabbat Vayechi. The last part of the entirety of Sefer Bereshit, the closing scene, is one of Yosef and his brothers. You might have thought, of being forgiven for thinking, surely we've resolved all this drama already. We've had the showdown of Yosef and his brothers. We've had the reconciliation. We've moved on to the next stage. Clearly that's not the case. The moment that Yaakov passes away, the brothers are again terrified. Maybe now Yosef is going to take his revenge. Maybe he's going to kill us. Maybe he's going to turn us into slaves. They prostrate themselves before him. And Yosef responds, "Don't be afraid. Am I in place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what's now being done, the saving of many lives." The final scene of the entirety of Sefer Bereshit is one of forgiveness, of Yosef forgiving his brothers. And it's a powerful, it's a moving scene in of itself. But if we look at it in the context of the whole of Sefer Bereshit, it takes on a new meaning. Because one of, if not perhaps one of the most striking themes of the entirety of Sefer Bereshit is strife between siblings. It starts off with Cain killing Hevel, and then obviously going on to Yitzchak and Yishmael, and Yaakov and Esav, and clearly then, with the way it played out with Yosef and his brothers. It's a core theme of the entire book, of brothers not being able to get along with each other. And by showing in this final scene that there's able to be forgiveness, brothers are able to get along with each other. It gives us hope for the future of the Jewish people, and hope for them coming together as Am Yisrael to survive the next set of challenges that they're going to endure. And one thing that, for me, strikes me as very powerful is the way that Yosef is able to find that forgiveness. Because he doesn't find that forgiveness by shrugging off the situation or by downplaying the wrong that's been done to him. He finds that forgiveness by reframing it, by reframing the situation from "you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." And he sees the outcome. He doesn't diminish the suffering, but he sees the outcome of the situation, that through this he was able to save many lives. And the great existential psychologist and psychiatrist Irvin Yalom talks about therapy. He says, of course, we can't change the past. What's done is done. We can't relive our childhood. We can't relive our relationships. And one of the jobs of a therapeutic encounter, and be that with a professional, be that just with yourself, is to see, well, what have you changed as a result? What have you learned as a result? How can you act? How can you live moving forward without trying to change the past? We can't change the past. But what we can do is we can change the narrative. We can change how we see those actions, we see those events, and change how it informs us and how we go forward in our lives. And that's something that, for all of us, we can learn from. In fact, we say every week in Lechavodi, B'sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. The final action, the action that is the end, indicates the initial intent. The action that is the conclusion shows the initial intent. And maybe that line is saying the same thing. However we act as a result, the action that we close with, the action that we take forward, that reframes the initial intent. That changes the initial intent of a situation in our minds. And what Yosef does is he takes the wrong that's been done to him, but he uses it for the positive. He uses it to save lives. He uses it to inform his actions going forward. And as we come to the end of this secular year, it's obviously not how we mark time as a Jewish people, but 2020 will be remembered for many people as a year where many things changed, where things don't necessarily change for the better. And people have suffered and people have gone through incredible hardship. We can't change that. We can't change what's happened. But what we can do is change our actions. Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Change the actions that come out. How are we going to carry ourselves going forward? What have we learned about ourselves? What have we learned about our relationships? Spending time, not being able to spend time with the people that we care about. And please God, as we move into the next stage, as we move into the next set of Chagim, please God, by Purim, at least by Pesach, we'll be able to, carry ourselves in a way that we're more familiar with. But at the same time, we shouldn't write off the lessons that we've learned from the last 12 months. And please God, we should be able to take them and use them to frame how we carry ourselves going forward. How, in the same way that Yosef is able to reframe the challenge that he's struggled with as a result of the actions of his brothers, and use them to build future relationships and to build the future of the Jewish people. Please God, so too we all can take what we've learned, be it in terms of compassion and kindness, sensitivity to others who have who've been struggling in far worse ways. And please God, together we'll be able to come as a community to care for each other, to be with each other as a community, and wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.